send
send that by email, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna let Ruth know. So
Who is the host now?
Fabio. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm recording.
Because Lynn is not there, so Lynn and
Lynn's not there?
yeah,
Okay,
Lynn's
they're
not
all
there.
waiting. Okay. Now I'm admitting Lynn and
okay. Okay.
Oh, there's Ruth. Okay.
Okay. Great.
okay. David or anybody else? Do we have a question?
I'd love what we were talking about with Lynn's question on the closing chant. And if you're ready for a question, I'm wondering, with limitlessness, would that be another word that could fit into this? Would that be another translation? It's almost like, why is that missing from all these translations?
Oh, I think it was not missing. Let me show you. Let me see. The first one, it says completeness with the infinite fullness, and then there is Brahman is limitless, infinite number of universe come out and go on into the infinite Brahman. So yeah, there is no version repeating limitlessness as the other one. There is another one here that says that is reality, this is reality, meaning to say Brahman is reality, Paramatma is reality, Jivatma is reality. From the reality, this reality came manifest, adding or subtracting reality from reality, only reality remains. And then they have a version using the word reality, and another version using the word perfect. From that perfection, this perfection, when perfection is taken from the perfection alone remains. And I'm gonna add another one using the word limitlessness, okay? Because it's all the same concept.
Okay. Okay.
So Arlindo, one of the confusion I have is this and that. Paroksha and aparoksha, I guess they say, but I always think of, it seems Dayananda says that means the absolute and that this is mithya, but I always think of that as being distant, objective to the subject. So it kind of in my mind confuses me. I think of this as being most intimate, most near, and that as being separate, but it's sort of flipped. And I don't really understand those concepts, I guess, the way it's put in the verse.
Yeah, so it can be confusing until we understand that there is only, I mean, it's difficult to say that because that does not stand without this, you know? There is only Brahman, there is only consciousness, there is only awareness. So, and then when we say that this is that, you understand? Brahman is full and limitless. And so when we say that this is that, it means to say that there is only that. This is just a superimposition or a projection or an appearance within that which is the only reality. So we tend to take this Jiva-Atma, you know, as most intimate, as you said, most precious and so on. But self-knowledge is about understanding that which the real absolute value or reality is, that Brahman, which is nothing but this, because there is no this, there is only that, you understand? So the jiva is mithya, as you said. The jiva is not real, it's just an appearance that occurs within consciousness and not apart from consciousness. So when the jiva knows that, so this fascination for itself, you know, begins gradually fading, because there is this hard and fast knowledge, growing fast knowledge, growing hard and fast knowledge in respect to the only reality, which is consciousness. Everything else is just that, appearing as this. This is just an appearance. You understand? That is the only reality. So is there really this and that? No, there is only that. But since the jiva imagine itself to be something absolutely apart from that, the scriptures come to establish, the fact that that this is only that. That's what he say. It's only that. It's alone, as Brahman is alone. Brahman, there is only Brahman and Brahman alone. There is only consciousness and consciousness alone. There is only limitless and limitless alone. There is only fullness and fullness alone. The only reality is consciousness, to keep it simple. And we are that. We are not the wave superimposed on the ocean. We are the ocean. That's the most simple analogy to understand. We are not the wave. We are the ocean. That is our substantial, free, independent, limitless nature. You understand? So,
Yeah, I think I just,
yeah.
this and that, the language of duality.
It's
Kind of
the
in-
language. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to use language, and language is duality, because it's about discriminating the distinctions between this and that and everything, all configurations of media. We need to say this is that, and this is, everything is colored by the goods, and then they develop properties and attributes, and language is about interconnecting, phenomena and so on. But those statements, Tatvamasi, such as Tatvamasi, this is that, it needs to be properly understood, unfolded by a teacher, so that we remove, as we saw in our last class, the apparent contradictions, because something that we call this can never be that. So unless we understand what? We understand the implied meanings, which is a tool that Vedanta is fundamental for understanding Vedanta, So in which way this is that? We need to remove or reject everything which is not a common ground, the apparent attributes, and then we keep just the essential, that which is the essential nature of this and that, which is only Brahman, because the Jivatma is Paramatma. We have to remove the non-essential attributes of the Jiva to understand that the Jiva is consciousness. But due to the added attributes, which are not essential to the Jiva, so we remove the non-essential attributes, and then we understand this statement that this is that. We are caught up with the attributes which are byproduct of Maya and the gunas.
So Arlindo, that essentially it's bringing this and that into one in the end. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can look
It's not separate. It's not
Yes.
separate.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that this is that. So this is in that. It's a one way. If this is that, but that is not this. So there's no
Yeah.
two way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we were talking before, I think, about how we are in God, but God is not in us.
Yeah.
And
Let's go. This is a very good point.
That's
First, just to elaborate a little bit more with what Karen said, is like the idea of oneness. You said oneness. Is that the word you use? Oneness. This word oneness
Yes.
implies two-ness, duality, two. One implies two, okay? One exists only in reference or stands, against diversity, multiplicity, and then we say everything is one. And that can be said as well, you understand? But the Vedanta is very fussy about language. We prefer to say that the nature of reality is oneness. No, we prefer to say the nature of reality is non-dual. You understand? Which is different. Non-dual means to say that, there is no two. There is only one, like the statement we're saying, fullness and fullness, you remove fullness from there, there is only fullness and fullness alone. There is only oneness and oneness alone, because there were never two. So we prefer to stick to the language of non-duality and say the nature of consciousness is non-dual. It's one without a second. So something that is one with nothing other than itself, it must be, by definition, limitless. Why? Karen, are you with me?
Yes, it's still a little confusing to me.
Yeah, because you are processing it as I'm talking to you, as it seems. So there is the language that says that the nature of the self is non-dual. Non-dual is something that is one without anything other than itself. Okay? So if there is nothing, there is no modification, nothing within the scope of my existence as consciousness, it means that there is only consciousness and consciousness alone. So it's different from, say, like consciousness is oneness. When we bring the notion of oneness, immediately we bring the concept of plurality, and we tend to believe that consciousness is constituted by all parts, all varieties, all diversities, okay? Consciousness is not constituted by all parts, and oneness gives the impression that consciousness is the total of all parts. No, consciousness is the only reality. There is only consciousness and nothing other than consciousness. And therefore it's better to understand the nature of consciousness as non-dual rather than the totality of parts or the oneness. Oneness, it has this implied, it suggests the idea of accumulation of all parts, a concentration, the sum of all parts. And the scriptures, to resolve that problem, it says that consciousness is whole, full, and complete. And then it says it is a partless whole. It's a whole that is not made out of total parts of the phenomenal object. You understand? Therefore, it's better to develop the understanding of consciousness as non-dual. Now you can talk.
So, so it's kind of like the parts are in mitya. Is that right?
Yeah, all these parts that we see, all this difference between my configuration and my body-mind configuration and everyone here, all of this is not really real. That's what it means, mitya. Mitya is that which is apparently real. It has certain existence, but the existence of each one of us here is exactly the existence of every names and forms of gold. Every how you say, ornament, every piece of ornament of gold enjoys a certain reality. But this reality is not really free and independent, because depend on the gold. The gold is the only reality. All the shapes of gold depend on the gold. That's the point. So every variety, every difference that we see, all these phenomenal objects, including the human jivas, we are just different configurations of the same reality, which is consciousness. You understand? So the jiva, it can be experienced, it exists, but exists as a superimposition on gold, the same way the ring is a superimposition on gold. So we are here to understand our fundamental, essential, substantial nature, because this understand is what which allows us to cancel this experience of suffering, which is what bothers most human jivas, you understand? We need to understand our fundamental, essential nature is that which is not affected by any superimpositions on that which we are. You understand why we again and again, we talk about that, Karen? This is not philosophy. This is to understand your essential nature is the only freedom, because the gold never gets affected by the shapes that come into existence and melt back into no shape or in a bar shape. You know, all these modifications, they don't affect the gold the same way all of these events and circumstances and bodies that appears in consciousness do not affect that which we are. So understanding this clearly, truly, and that's what allows us to develop this sense of freedom from Itya, you know, freedom from the body mind and freedom from the karmas that unfold and so on.
Then is that the same? It seems like that analogy last week of the clear crystal is consciousness. Because there's no parts. It's just clear. And then behind it would be the rose that it's reflecting on as the jivas, maybe?
Yeah, this is another tool to help us to understand how Maya and the gunas are going to bring about this phenomenon called the upadis. You understand? These properties and the attributes and qualities that get transferred, you know, from Maya, the gunas, to consciousness, and consciousness appears identified with these attributes superimposed by Ishvara Maya, you know, karma. The Chitta karma is going to produce a body. This body is going to grow in the course of its own karma, and it is defined by its qualities, attributes, and life history, and so on. All of this is the readiness of the rose that gets transferred to consciousness, as you said. Here, the readiness of the gunas, the colors of the gunas, that which is the building block of phenomenal object, this is what is going to color our nature as consciousness, and then we feel that we are not really consciousness, because now we feel that our consciousness is red, is no longer pure consciousness, is consciousness conditioned by the gunas, conditioned by the attributes that come about by the power of Maya, Ishvara Maya, the gunas. It's a different way to look at the way, you know, we are deceived. I mean, the Upadhi teaching, it helps us to understand the way, again and again, we identify with the gunas. Again and again, we identify with our karma, you know, the notions we have about ourselves, our knowledge, our talents, our history, our ideas, our skills. All of these are gunas in operation, configuring, you know, every body mind complex. It's all of this is the readiness of the roles being transferred to us consciousness. You understand? So it's the nature of the self is non-dual, and it appears to be dual. It appears to be a diversity of conscious beings, but this appearance of diversity of conscious beings is due to the readiness of the roles, because there is no roles that has the same readiness. You know, Ishvara is so perfect that the configuration of the gunas never repeats one phenomenal object. So the readiness of the roles is going to make us feel that we are this configuration, we are these attributes, I am these qualities, I am this person. You understand? So in analogy, we are the crystal clear crystal, the transparent crystal, right? And then just imagine the situation, the trouble of this crystal, that wherever they go, there is some colors of the universe, jumping into this crystal. Because there is no way where you can take your crystal that he's not going to have these different colors, superimpose, and making it appear a little gray, a little this, a little this, a little that. So there is no way this crystal can remain free from this transfer of attributes from something that has attributes, the gunas, transfer to that which is attributeless. The self is attributeless, right? You remember? The self is free of attribute. But, in contact with phenomenon, it appears to take the attributes of Maya, Ishvara, the gunas, and then it feels limited by the very attributes that somehow shapes one's notion of itself, understand? Of oneself. So how are we going to do with this crystal? We cannot take this crystal anywhere because something jumps into it, right? So the only way is to understand this phenomenon called Upadi, the appearance transfer of attributes that belongs to Maya, transferred to something that is attributeless. So the only way is to understand that phenomenon, because we cannot avoid it. The attributes are going to keep jumping into this crystal consciousness, appearing and believing to be an individual jiva. So are we following? This is a subtle kind of analysis and discussion. Very.
From what you said earlier, it seems to me that on a moment-to-moment basis, there has to be recognition of this, what I've heard called the fundamental problem of suffering, and having a real value for the self. And because we live so much in the world, in Midya, and there's so much delicious here that we keep going after it and going after it. I think that's my biggest problem, is that I keep thinking every time, if only I would suffer more, it would maybe be a good spur to get me to recognize that fundamental problem in all experience. Yeah. And it's just difficult because this is so great, hard to know how to proceed sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. We need to develop a distaste for punya. We talked about that a little bit. So you enjoy the punya. It seems that you have a good material punya and spiritual punya, psychological punya maybe. So you have a good life. Life is good, beautiful. I'm living in this cabin here in this place. And the owner here is an Italian guy. He has a lot of money. He has a lot of things, a lot of chalets and cabin, and he's a very happy person. And he's a devotee of Osho Rajneesh. There are many of them here, and I like the guy very much. He's so funny and he's so juicy, and happy. It's nice to be around him, although he's extremely rajasic. When he met me, he said, "Oh, Vedanta, I want to know something about Vedanta." Now we are here since, 10 days, and we came visiting here several times. He never asked me about Vedanta because he does not have enough interest for self-inquiry and self-knowledge. So he's enjoying punya, you understand? he has a good life, and he's happy. He has a wife that he loves, and he do sing all the time. The other day, Sylvia told him, "Come on, it's Sunday today. You're still working." And he said, like, "Well, I mean, and she said, "You never stop." And then he said, "No, I will stop when I'm dead, because right now I don't have time to stop." Understand? I enjoy doing, you know, and he's enjoy life. You understand? So we enjoy the pleasures of life, meaning to say, if we enjoy, it's because we have a good credit of punya. We enjoy them until somehow we exhaust them, you know. That's why sometimes we say that it's easier to get serious about self-knowledge when we go through difficulties and suffering, because and then people say, no, there is something wrong here. I'm not enjoying suffering. But when we enjoy pleasures, when we enjoy punya, a lot of people say, it's okay, life is beautiful. The other day, the same guy told me like that. He said, no. I said, oh, no, you are doing this because now they are going to begin a new construction. I said, man, it's really big. It's a lot of work. And he said, I like it. I really love it. And then he turned to me and said, so, I mean, I just want to enjoy life and do. He's 72 or 73. And and then in the last year of my life, and then I will get serious about enlightenment. You know? So it's a common idea. So you are having a good time, you know? So, but this is not your case, of course. So you are doing your Vedantic work diligently. You know?
Isn't the problem that, you know, like this is temporary? So, I mean, everything can be really, really good, but ultimately we know it's temporary and it's going to change. And so enjoy it for what it is, but know that it's going, but know it's going to change. And like even your friend, he's going to die. So it's going to change. And yeah, so the motivation is like, how do we, you know, how do we deal with the you know, with the pleasures today, knowing that they're going to change tomorrow?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. Every punya, it's defect by nature because it's bound by time to begin with. And if once we get smart, we get wise, and then we say, oh, this is not going to last. And that enough is already an indication that it's not really worth it. Papaji used to say something very nice that I never forget, and sometimes I bring to our meetings. It's like, attach yourself to anything that changes, and it's going to bite you in the end. Yeah? Attach yourself to anything in mithya, life punya, life circumstance, results of good karmas, you know. Attach to anything that is changing, because that's the nature of mithya, and it's going to bite you in the end. It's very rare to see someone like Buddha, who had all the pleasure that the world could offer to a man, walking away from everything. That's what makes his life story so beautiful, you know, that he walked away from all pleasures and riches that life can give to one. You know? Because he understood that circumstance was not going to bring him permanent happiness and freedom. He got to understand that the human body is bound by time, and it's going to grow, get older, and die. When he got in contact with the mortality of the human body, he was so smart, he was so spiritually advanced that he said, what is the point here, you know, to be enjoying all of this here if I know it's going to end? Huh? He said, I want something that brings to me eternal happiness. I want to drink from the elixir of immortality, and so on. So he wants to become a jnani, a yogi, to learn, to gain immortality. So So this is what defines the level of maturity of each one of us, you know, how invested we are in these fleeting pleasures, like David said, momentary circumstance that will change in due time. And if we have any doubt about that, I mean, it changes with what? With old age, sickness, and death, pain and death. But I
So
it's all of it's very distracting because, you know, I mean,
well, I'm thinking like, you know, life, as we're talking here, like life it's one, it's like what we're really trying to do, or what so many people are trying to do is just focus on the pleasures and just being in that state and trying to maintain it and fight and control it and all that, because we want to be in that really, you know, in that high level of pleasure, that state that's going to balance out everything else. And then what I'm thinking is like, is that really what, if we think about life differently, we think about our life is starting to be more in an equilibrium state. And so that how we treat the pleasures, we treat them, we greet them, we accept them as gifts, and how we take the undesirable, the things that we don't want, and how do we take them as gifts and accept them and so forth too. So we're really, you know, life is to create that calm and peaceful sattva kind of state, which then opens us up to being able to receive the knowledge and be, you know, open to the knowledge and work within the knowledge. So I see a real discrepancy between our general approach as jivas is to live in that pleasure state, when in reality, what we could be doing through Vedanta is to live in this equanimity, the sattva state, and that then is what is conducive to self-knowledge.
yeah, definitely. This passion is a very, very important, you know, quality, mental quality to be successful in this self-inquiry and self-knowledge. And I want to mention something about that because our goal is to know that which is beyond pleasure and pain, that which is always ever present. And once we know that, we begin drinking from a certain level, a different sort of happiness or joy or peace or contentment, which is not linked to any object, you understand? Because when we depend on objects, we are already in trouble by definition, because we try to control and we have no control because that belongs to Ishwar. So this happiness of the Dhyani is a happiness that does not depend on any happening, any circumstance, you know, any object. Is the happening, it's the jnana shanti, you know, the jnana shanti is that which is based on the understanding of my nature as limitless consciousness. You understand? That which never change, that which is beyond time. Okay? So having that knowledge, it's somehow, it does not try to become to balance, you know, I don't want to get too happy and I take no, it's just that allows him to go beyond pleasures and pains, and he just lives from this platform of knowledge, understanding in respect to one's nature as fullness and completion and limitlessness. You understand? So it is a joy, which is a happiness, which is has a different quality to it because it's not linked to objects. You understand? It's linked to one's self-knowledge.
Just as a reflection, think of maybe is happiness a word that could be used in that closing?
Yeah.
You know, in closing too. So and think about happiness that way. And I don't know, I haven't done it, but I mean, I could propose that as something to consider, is happiness as another translation for that closing.
Yeah. For that what?
Well, the happiness would be a word that could be used in the closing, where we used infinite or whole or absolute,
yeah.
but use happiness is
As
for
well.
the same
As
as well.
Yeah, the nature of consciousness is joy. We see in some of our texts is happiness, it's peace, it's contentment, it's another, it's limitlessness, and so on. So happiness is a word that we can use as well when we look into the way we seek happiness in objects. And then with maturity, we understand that every happiness that depends on a happening or on an object of experience is bound by time. And it's a permanent happiness, it's a temporary happiness. So maturity is to come to a point that you are no longer satisfied with temporary happiness, which is always imperfect by nature a little bit. And furthermore, it's something that requires a lot of work to gain. The happiness linked to success in gaining or avoiding objects of experience, it comes already with a high price tag, which is the effort one has to put into gaining, accomplish, or achieving that happiness. You understand? And it's easy that it's a huge downside to this happiness. And the happiness of jnana is a happiness that is faultless, because once this knowledge is properly assimilated, and retained and processed and internalized, and then it's always there available to promote this sense of equanimity, which is not something that the jnana is trying to regulate again and again. It's just like it's the nature of self-knowledge, you understand? Nobody likes to depend on temporary happiness, and we get serious about Vedanta when we understand that. I want infinite and permanent, eternal happiness. But what happens, Dave, is that this self-knowledge, this happiness, which is derived by jnana, it takes some work to be properly established.
Okay.
Happiness gained by accomplished by gaining things, circumstance, is easily attained. You try hard here and there, you get that happiness. It's enough to go home. Oh, I love it. Spaghetti. Okay, I'm going to be happy tonight. I'm going to cook a beautiful spaghetti and I'm going to eat a full plate, and then I'm happy. So it's relatively easy to go through this small, anantas that we experience that obscure our nature as ananta, as in some of our texts is present. We go for Jesus, it's much easier. And then unconsciously people think like that, okay, this self-knowledge is going to produce the real ananta, which is not bound by time, it's limitless, it's infinite, and it's eternal. But you know what? It takes too much work. The scriptures say that you need to develop qualifications, and you may take a lifetime or more. And then if you get rational about that and say, I'm not going to sacrifice my day-to-day anantas, the little thing, to search something, the real ananta, because that may take too long. You understand? So it comes to a point that one is so fed up with these little anantas that one says, I don't care. It may take 5, 10 lifetimes, I'm done with running to these shadows, running to these things that provide me with fleeting moments of happiness, the fact happiness that come and go very quickly, So it comes a point that you cannot help. You just get fed up. You understand? Not that there is anything wrong with all of that, but you want something else. You no longer want to chase happiness from the world of objects, And this is a beautiful, a beautiful moment in one's life when we really say, no, I want the real thing. regardless of how long it takes and how much effort, you know.
I was thinking that, oh, sorry, David, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
This, what you've been speaking of seems to me, it's like punya is a dulling narcotic that just has you, you know, and you just have to go stop that addiction. You know, you have to have that sankalpa to just power through that narcotic nature of.
Yeah, very addictive.
It's the fifth sheet.
Punya.
Right, the punya is like the fifth sheath, right? You can get stuck with the fifth, you know, we look at the koshas. It's the fifth kosha.
Well, punya favorable circumstance, you know, punya karma. So I have lives that the life presents almost no adversities and everything goes in agreement with my likes. You know, I'm blessed by Ishvara because I have put so much spiritual efforts and a beautiful dharmic lifestyle, and now I'm reaping punya. And then what Lynn is saying is that it's very addictive because, you know, I mean, it gives you satisfaction. And then you get stuck in punya the same way the yogis that develop a highly sattvic state of mind, they get stuck in sattva. Sattva is the highest form of punya. You can get material punya, you can get psychological punya, cultural punya. You have a lot of things going for you, you know. But to get to the point of having spiritual punya in the form of a lot of sattva mind, you know, a lot of sattva guna in your mind, it produce great peace and joy and love and, you know, those states. So it seems like, okay, this is the ultimate, and that's how a lot of people in the spiritual world feel, you know, oh, this is the ultimate. But then the Vedantin is the one who comes to that and say, oh no, this is again another trap, because it has a beginning, a middle, and end. It come and go. You understand? So it requires a lot of effort, and then I experience this sattvic state, and it's very beautiful, very pleasant, and so on. But yet, it's something temporal. It's something come and go.
Yeah, I'm kind of struck. One of the first things you said when we started this discussion, you said like happiness. If you treat happiness as a desire, all right, something that you want, then right away that to me is that's dealing with happiness in mithya, and it's a pursuit, it's a desire, it's one, it has all those things that are built into it. But if we look at happiness as an underlying state, the substrata, the consciousness of being, then it doesn't become something that you pursue. It becomes something that you are, that just gets failed or gets distracted by mithya. So if we really, you know, so I was really just struck by, I wrote down like, you know, happiness as a desire is right away. If that's the path you're on, it's not going to eliminate suffering.
Yeah. The scriptures say that the nature of the self is happiness and joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
In some passages it says also security. Why? Because everything we do is for pleasures and joys and entertainment and security, most of our activity. And then the scriptures say that to redirect our life and say, that your nature is that which you are searching in object. So this happiness from objects, it's something that that is bound by time, and it's the fact, as I said, and the come and go and leaves one in that situation. Like, okay, now I'm enjoying more and more punya because I did a lot of work before. I have millions and millions in the bank, so I can enjoy economic punya for some time. But you know that, if you live too long, you may run out of dollar, The same way is our life circumstance. Everything that helps us is a product of karma, and karma changes. You understand? We may come to a point that we don't need to generate much more karma because we have a lot of karma already deposited in our karmic account. The same way we don't need to keep making more money because we have already enough money deposited in our bank account. But anything that, requires effort to make, it somehow, it goes, it disappears, it comes down, it's exhausted, So punya is going to exhaust, and then we need to come back in a new body and start working to produce more punya. So that's how punya bounds us to samsara, And desire, is desire, you said desire. So this punya is a desire, and there's a desire, you said. So you already, in difficulty because your nature is already joy and happiness and security. So what is the difference is that this happiness, joy, and security will never be found in any object out there. It can only be found as your very nature. And to understand this and to accept this and to live from this platform of knowledge, understanding, is what Vedanta is all about.
That's what it's all. That's what it's all about. So one foot in at the hokey pokey. So
Yes, Karen? Your mic is closed. Your mic is closed.
Karen, you're muted.
Okay, the space bar wasn't working. I was holding the space bar. Thanks. But while you're here, experiencing on, our planet in Mitya, the trick is to learn to balance both, because, when Dave and I briefly had this conversation with Ruth too last week about when you're a householder, you have your children, of course, you're attached to them, you enjoy them.
Objection.
Yeah.
You attach until you are no longer attached. You can carry on.
You mean, well, but to attach, but with the understanding that the happiness is not in the object, but while you're here, you're going to enjoy your children and those objects of love and attachment. So I guess that's a process of.
Yeah, you can love them without attachment.
Okay. That's the trick, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is, you were saying like, oh, okay, but we live here, we have our life, we have all these things that we need to interact with, and why not to also enjoy all of this? Yes, we enjoy and we value until we no longer enjoy and value. It's not that we develop a disgusting or displeasure towards people and children and grandchildren. You just know that it's all beautiful, but nothing shines anymore as it used to shine before, You just have a different view, perspective. This is the sense of dispassion. It's a positive feeling and sense that nothing has real value. The only value is in our true nature as consciousness, because we are full, whole. Everything is okay, everything is acceptable, but nothing is really very much exciting for the young anymore, you understand, as it used to be. So how are we going to live a life like that? Because the problem of the seekers of moksha is that we are searching moksha, but at the same time, we are seeking and searching other things. You know, we are searching things in the world as well. So how can we reconcile these two? Because seeking and searching things in world so that I can extract happiness, you know, takes energy. We know that. Takes maintenance and energy and so on. So now how are we going to reconcile these activities, you know, of mundane, samsaric activity with my search and seeking for self-knowledge and moksha? So this is where we come to a point that we say, I invest so much in these small pleasures that I gain from the world, you know, and I invest so much, and I'm investing a little bit now on self-inquiry and self-knowledge, but it takes some time to bear fruits and so on. But then as it starts bearing fruits, as we start valuing it, and then we develop the confidence and the courage to start disinvesting some of our energy, time, and so on getting the small pleasure from the world, and we redirect those investments to self-inquiry and self-knowledge. This happens effortlessly, and there is nothing we can do. We are not going to be afraid, you know, because it comes a point, Karen, that we are ready to invest everything on self-knowledge and moksha, you understand? But that has to be a natural process. We don't need to be concerned about that. It comes with this developed value for self-knowledge as the only means for him really, you know, enjoy life, enjoy peace, enjoy contentment. So when we have that clear, because we already experience the fruits of self-inquiry and self-knowledge, and then we have the courage, the natural courage to keep investing more and more. And that is the process of developing a sattvic lifestyle. So you need to disengage from the world to the best, to the maximum of your abilities, intellectual and economic. You go disengaging, and engaging into self-knowledge, like Swami Shimaya used to say. This process, this spiritual process, is nothing more than disconnecting from the world and connecting to Brahman, connecting to the script. Disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect. You know, we take our investment from here and we put the investment. When you see, you are totally investing self-knowledge. And sometimes it comes to a point that they say, okay, but I'm much less rich now financially. But who cares? Because you understood already that money cannot really provide true security and happiness. You understand? There is nothing to be afraid, because this comes naturally. You understand? Gradually and naturally.
Can you think of dispassion as basically the outward indication of peace?
Yeah.
So nothing really, it's not that you can't on the surface care for this or care for that, but that you know nothing can disrupt the peace that you are. So it appears as you're dispassionate, perhaps, to yourself or to others, but it's not really. Well, like you don't care, or that you're not involved, or you're not, you know, doing your mitya thing.
Yeah, you do your things, but you do from with a different attitude, you know, because you know that you are not doing things to resolve your mind or complete yourself, or you know, you are doing things because Jiva is designed to do things, and life hits us again and again and requires us to offer a response. So if we have too much attitude is gratitude. The attitude is gratitude. So if we have too much engagement with life, then we need to do what? We need to understand Karma Yoga and keep doing what we're doing, and then we transform all those interactions with the field into spiritual sadhanas, because we are doing with a certain spirit. You understand? Yeah. So dispassion in general is undervalued in the world. You know, people overvalue passion, and they think that dispassion is a problem. But dispassion is a very positive attitude, you know, which is based on wisdom. You understand? The wisdom about Satya and Mithya altogether. Oh, now it froze. It's about time to.
Passionate in the sense that you didn't create it, and you're not, and you're not going to suffer the results. So, you know, accepting things in gratitude, I guess. So, ciao,
Yeah.
people. Have a great day.
I think Arlindo's back, but do you want to close, Arlindo?
Yeah.
Huh?
Do you want to close? We didn't know you were coming back, so.
Yeah, it's about time. So let's meet on
Yeah.
Monday then. But it's a lovely discussion.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a good time to use the closing chant now that we understand it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Thanks, Len.
Om Purnamada
Namada.
Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lord Ishvara. Thank you, awesome brother.
Thank you.
And we meet again Monday. I will be sending the email
Yeah.
with everything. Okay? Much love.
Ciao.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.